Hey guys, what's up? It's Carmela Maniac. If you're new to my channel, sit down, chill, and hang out with me for a bit because today I'm going to be breaking down and reviewing the Manifesto, featuring Trueno and Proof.
Momentum, it is high. Yeah, the mountain said, so the mountain cried.
Now, the Manifesto is a preview song of Gorillaz' soon-to-be-released album called The Mountain, which will be released in March of 2026. Now, as I said, this song features two artists, the first one being Trueno, who is an Argentinian singer/rapper and songwriter. He is most famous for his freestyle on Bizarrap's Freestyle Sessions No. 6. Now, the second feature on this track is the late D12 rapper Proof. Now, D12 was a hip-hop group which was also known as the Dirty Dozen, and it was formed in Detroit, Michigan in 1996. I say the late rapper Proof because back in 2006 he passed away. Now, the Gorillaz have stated that their new album, The Mountain, is a playlist for the party on the border between this world and whatever happens next, exploring the journey of life and the thrill of existence. So it's interesting that they have artists featured on this album who have passed away. This album will include other late artists including the drummer Tony Allen, The Fall's Mark E. Smith, De La Soul's Dave Jolicoeur, singer Bobby Womack, and actor Dennis Hopper. So I thought I would just share the theme of this album and some of the legends that are featured. I also found it pretty interesting. Anyway, let's talk about the actual song. So right off the bat, this song stands out and sounds different than most of the other things that are coming out today. We have a whole entourage of unusual instruments that you really don't hear in American mainstream music. Most of these instruments are acoustic and are kind of pulled from different parts of the entire world. Even the percussive parts are different and stand out. The raindrop sounding drum is the one that stands out especially for me. The bass comes in and doesn't really sound like an electronic bass, like an 808 or anything like that. It sounds more acoustic and down to earth. However, when Trueno starts rapping, it sounds more familiar to us, but it still has an unusual and distinct vibe to it. The bass is what really keeps us grounded in this first part of the song, and I like to think it kind of keeps the attention of people who don't usually listen to unusual or new things. It's like, don't worry, I know you don't like to try out new things, but here's this rapper and bass to keep you safe. So Trueno starts this song off with the vocal style of singing, and then the next part he actually raps, and throughout the song he goes back and forth from rapping and singing. And in the beginning where he's rapping, it's a very interesting sound because as he's rapping, there are a lot of melodical elements and instrument parts that are being added in underneath him. The most prominent melodic instrument part being these string sounding instruments. And as Trueno's verse progresses, these string instruments get louder and louder and more prominent. And finally, as the verse ends, the melodically heavy string instruments feel almost as if they are competing with Trueno and his rapping, which was a little weird, but it still worked. It's weird because Trueno's rapping part didn't have a lot of melodical parts to it, whereas these stringed instruments were very melodically heavy. So there were these two heavily contrasting elements that were basically fighting each other for attention. But I think it works well, and I think the producers handled it perfectly. Because first, Trueno's rapping was dynamic in terms of the pitches he used, so it wasn't just one constant static note, like Cardi B's part was in Safe. And also, the notes that he used were basically kind of in the key of the song. The other thing that helped was the rhythm he used for his rapping. It was centered perfectly around the bass of the song, and filled the spaces in between the bass to add even more rhythm. And this enhanced the beat perfectly, and that's why it works so well. When the song takes a more melodical focus in between the verse and the refrain, this part featuring a chorus of female vocals that made their appearance in the first verse behind Trueno follows the melodic vibe of the song and starts starts singing again. And it matches the song perfectly and makes the song even more beautiful and really makes it shine. However, one thing about his vocals here, you can hear it especially in the refrain, is that he has a lot of vocal effects on him, like some reverb, probably what sounds like auto-tune, and also some compression. So his vocals sound a little bit processed, and these processed vocals contrast very heavily with the kind of down-to-earth cultural beat. And it's kind of amazing to me how well it works. It does sound a little bit strange, but it still works. It's blending the old with the new. The vocal processing effects can be clearly heard when Trueno sings "I Have Nothing to Lose," and there are multiple vocal parts of him stacked on top of each other, along with a good amount of autotune, making him sound like he came straight off a reggaeton track. But it's like over this like extremely creative and diverse beat, so it's like weird. So it's definitely something different.
I have nothing to lose.
There is another interesting contrast when 2D starts singing the chorus, because he also has some audio effects on him, which gives him that iconic Gorillaz sound. The sound being like he's coming from a radio, so he sounds kind of like high tech on top of this, again, kind of down to earth cultural beat. And it's just another different thing that you don't really hear that much. Then for a third huge contrast, when the chorus ends, there is a very satisfyingly thick grating synth that takes over. And then like directly after that, and also while it's playing, a pan flute starts playing. A pan flute, or a flute of that nature, which plays, like I said, like right alongside the synth, and then eventually ends up taking over as the main melodic part. And I don't know how it works, but it may be because the pan flute is kind of like a higher instrument. It is also not played at a high volume, so it could be mistaken for another synth, which is maybe why it works. I don't know, man, it's weird. And since this song is made up of a lot of different parts, there's bound to be even more variety in the instrument choices that are used. However, all these parts have like the same melodic theme. So for this next part, a bunch of horns take over that melodic theme. And this horn part brings us into the second part of the song, which is mainly led by Proof. And this part is filled with him rapping in stylistically and subtly out of tune horn parts, and has a distinctive psychedelic urban sound.
You never seen a killer with fangs and millimeters that bang and killers teachers.
And then somehow the urban sound is turned even more psychedelic and has more added horn parts so that Trueno can take the song to its next part. And yet again, it feels like a different song, because I think it is like the third part of the song. This song is filled with things you wouldn't think would work mashed together. And it's good, but a little jarring at times. Like, I still can't get over how much of a contrast it was going from the synth part to the pan flute part. Or like how Trueno's autotune vocals were placed over this like cultural beat. And the song takes you on a journey, which I'm sure was the Gorillaz' point. And I feel like I would consider this a piece of artwork instead of a casual song. It's like a painted masterpiece that you kind of have to have a sophisticated, acquired taste for. It definitely felt meditative and psychedelic at times. I don't know, I don't think I would casually listen to this song. I think this is a song you really have to sit down with a pair of headphones and listen to multiple times to really get the full experience out of it and to really appreciate it. Now, I think the significance of this song will get lost on a good amount of people, but that's okay because it's not for everyone. So kudos to the Gorillaz for making this kind of like an art installation that you can listen to in your own home. So I'm gonna give this song an 8.9 out of 10 on the millimeter for creativity. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this review, or even if you didn't, please consider subscribing to the channel. Tell me what you guys thought of the Manifesto featuring Trueno and Proof in the comments below. Keep listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. It's raining, but it's just gonna be like a lo-fi vibe for the video. You're gonna enjoy the ambiance of rain, fall rain. I always forget to look up how to pronounce words. Trueno, 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 hip-hop group formed in Detroit, De La Soul's Jave, De La Soul, and actor Dennis Hopkins, and it's raining. It's raining. So it could be misconstrued. So it could be mistaken. And since this song is made up, and since